You know, insulin's got a one-track mind. I must store, I must store, I must store. I've got to get it out of the blood and store. It's very hard to lose weight if someone's on high insulin. So he was on 90 units of insulin a day. He came to our program. He heard the lecture on how the carbohydrates, they're the ones that dump as glucose, get the blood sugar level too high.
In this video, you'll uncover the hidden risks of common blood sugar spikes that could be silently harming your health, and discover the surprising approach to prevent them before it's too late with expert Barbara O'Neill. Stay with us because every moment unlocks a longer, vibrant life.
Because in the sugar cane, the glucose is all bound up in fibre and it slowly releases the glucose. But that pure crystallized acid that's been extracted from the sugarcane plant, when it goes into the body, blood glucose levels go boom. Very quickly the brain says, overload, quick. Pancreas, release the insulin. You see, high glucose demands high insulin. And so now the insulin's released and blood glucose levels start to drop, because now the insulin causes the glucose to go into the cell or to be stored as glycogen or fat. But because there was so much glucose, huge amounts of insulin are released. So where are blood glucose levels going now? Too low. That's called hypoglycemia, too low.
Refined sugars commonly found in processed foods and sugary drinks are rapidly absorbed into the bloodstream, unlike the gradual release seen with fiber-rich sources like whole grains or fruits. This quick absorption triggers a spike in insulin release, often followed by a sharp drop in blood sugar, leading to potential fatigue and hunger. Research shows these fluctuations increase inflammation and strain the pancreas, accelerating insulin resistance over time. Including fiber-rich foods help slow sugar absorption, reducing these metabolic stresses and supporting long-term health. According to the NIH, diets high in fiber can reduce glucose spikes by up to 25%, underscoring the role of diet in managing blood sugar stability.
So now the brain goes, oh no, we're too low. Stop the insulin, release the glucagon. But by the way, what happens down there? What does the person do? I need a hit of sugar. I'm too low. Will the sugar get it up? Oh, absolutely. Boom! Oh no, we're too high. Stop the glucagon, release the insulin. Oh no, can you see what's happening? Something else is happening. The cell starts to say, I'm sick of the sight of your insulin. And insulin resistance steps up. I'm sick of the sight of you. So the cell starts to resist insulin. And the blood glucose levels stay high because it's resisting getting in.
Frequent spikes and drops in blood sugar contribute to insulin resistance, a condition where cells become less responsive to insulin signals. This disruption can lead to type 2 diabetes and metabolic syndrome, conditions linked with increased cardiovascular risk. Studies indicate that incorporating fiber, healthy fats, and protein into the diet can stabilize glucose levels, helping to prevent insulin resistance by allowing a steadier release of energy. For example, Harvard research shows that individuals who regularly consume fiber-rich foods and limit refined sugars experience a 40% reduced risk of developing insulin resistance, highlighting the powerful role of diet in blood sugar control.
And so the brain says, too much glucose, more insulin, more insulin. Can you see what's happening here? The body says, what am I going to do with this? Get it out through the urine. Do you know what diabetes mellitus means? Sweet urine. Because there's nowhere else for it to go. And then eventually the pancreas just says, I'm sick of this. I'm done. And it just stops releasing the insulin. We had a young man named Paul do our program. He was 19. He had type 1 diabetes, and he'd had type 1 diabetes since he was 15, where he was put on a very strong course of antibiotics for a chest infection, and it started to kill off the beta cells in his pancreas that produce insulin.
In type 1 diabetes, where insulin production is severely reduced or absent, glucose remains in the bloodstream, often resulting in glucose excretion through urine, a hallmark of unmanaged diabetes. Although type 1 diabetes has a genetic component, environmental triggers like specific viral infections or antibiotics can accelerate the destruction of insulin-producing beta cells. For instance, research links certain strains of the Coxsackie virus with beta cell damage, illustrating the complexity of autoimmune triggers. Management strategies for type 1 diabetes include carb counting, insulin adjustments, and regular blood sugar monitoring to prevent complications. Carb counting, for example, involves estimating the carbohydrates in a meal, such as rice and vegetables, to match the appropriate insulin dose.
There can be several causes. He came to us, he was actually quite overweight for a young man. You see, high insulin, insulin's got a one-track mind. I must store, I've got to get it out of the blood and store. It's very hard to lose weight if someone's on high insulin. So he was on 90 units of insulin a day. He came to our program. He heard the lecture on how the carbohydrates, they're the ones that dump as glucose, get the blood sugar level too high. First 2 days at Misty Mountain Health Retreat, our guests have juices, mostly carrot, celery and apple juices.
High insulin levels, often resulting from diets rich in simple carbohydrates, promote fat storage, complicating weight control efforts. Reducing refined carb intake and focusing on whole foods helps manage blood sugar and avoid insulin spikes, which are essential for healthy weight maintenance. Research supports the benefits of low glycemic foods, such as legumes and leafy greens, in aiding insulin-sensitive individuals. For instance, avoiding high glycemic foods like white bread or sugary cereals reduces insulin spikes, creating a steadier energy release. Clinical trials reveal that people on low GI diets often achieve greater weight loss and reduced insulin levels compared to those on calorie-restricted diets, highlighting carb quality over quantity.
In the middle of the night, his blood sugar started to drop. What does that mean? He's on too much insulin. So the first week, he would have a lolly. That would get the blood sugar level up again, but he'd always get a headache because it'd go boom. Oh. Second week, he got convicted he shouldn't have the lolly. He was a quiet guy. I didn't know what was happening in the middle of the night. Second week, he decided to eat an apple. It takes a long time to eat an apple in the middle of the night. And to get the blood sugar level up.
When experiencing low blood sugar, a common reaction is to reach for a sugary snack, but physical activity can offer a more stable solution. Engaging in a quick activity like push-ups or a brisk walk activates glucose uptake by muscle cells without needing insulin, making it an effective alternative. Studies show that even brief exercise can elevate blood glucose levels, reducing reliance on sugary fixes that may lead to further spikes and crashes. For example, a few minutes of wall push-ups or a short walk can help increase blood sugar in people with mild hypoglycemia without adding excess sugar to the bloodstream. Your presence here is so important, and I'm grateful for every minute you invest in your health. Subscribe to the channel, and if you've made it to the end, comment. I'm committed to my longevity. Let's keep evolving together on this vibrant journey toward better health.